framework, so I think he fits in here. Ian, come on out.
Thanks, Jan. I'd like to acknowledge the Noongar peoples, the traditional owners and custodians of the land we stand on this morning. What an exciting couple of days it's been. Thank you, Marco and Jan, for inviting me over here to speak and present the story of Acre. It's very exciting to be here. Conversations that we've had over the last couple of days have been terrific. The presentation's been great, and I guess like a lot of conferences, it's often the conversations that happen over lunch, over dinner, over a beer that give you that greater connection and understanding of what it is you're hearing. And I'd like to thank IASCA for that, their generosity for giving us that time. It's been great. Since 2009, Australia's creative rural economy, a very fluid committee based in Swan Hill, comprising artists, art workers and farmers, that aims to assist, to provide support and initiate where possible projects that involve art and agriculture. Since 2009, the ACRE team have run seminars, events and projects which look at ways that art and agriculture intersect with history, community, resilience and future planning. It needs to be noted that ACRE is a very fledgling group, a very small group. If we think about what IASCA is doing, time. The title of this talk, Growing an Arts Community, perhaps a somewhat ambitious claim, but I think that's what we're aspiring to do in many ways. But perhaps more accurately, perhaps it could read the growing of arts within the community. And with very small steps, we've begun that journey. In this talk, I'm going to focus on one particular area of this region, that is the town and district of Moolarben. But I'll start with just a little bit about myself. Having grown up on a family farm in this region, having lived and worked in later years on the farm, there's a long-standing and inherent interest in agriculture, the family farm, and both the history and future of the area. My practice over the years has largely been about exploring, as I see it, the very complex and often paradoxical relationship that exists between environmental, sociological and agricultural interests in the landscape and our place in it. This is not about espousing beliefs or posing solutions, rather than generating an ongoing discussion. Informed by or referencing those markers and motifs, icons and imagery peculiar to a rural, a country, a farming landscape. I'm currently employed as the director of the Swan Hill Regional Art Gallery, a small public gallery that presents a program of touring, local and self-generated exhibitions from the permanent collection. It plays a vital role in bringing contemporary, local and other visual arts to the region. Part of the charter of the gallery is not just to present work within the confines of the gallery, but also to support community programs and projects where possible. So a project such as ACRE is an opportunity to engage with artists from all levels all locations, local, international, amateur, professional. As a director of a public gallery, one of the perennial challenges I face, and other directors too, I'm sure, is the public's perception of that terrifying word art and the building that plays host to art, that is, the gallery. While a private gallery such as Museum of Old and New Art in Hobart is turning convention on its head and continues to attract record crowds, too many galleries are seen to be elitist institutions that can only welcome those with a Bachelor of Arts degree from some sandstone university, perhaps. The sign on the door may well say, "Please enter," but it's anything but that for many. Galleries for too long have been recognised as part of the establishment. I say this to reflect, as we discuss over these few days, the accessibility of the arts to communities through relational art. Being a driver in a project that's 90% focused on community cultural development while being the director of the aforesaid cultural institution, you'll appreciate the potential to grow two almost opposing views of practice. On the one hand, the expectation is there to present all manner of visual arts exhibitions. On the other, the need to connect with community via projects, with people who I would suggest a lot of people would never enter that gallery. Swan Hill and the surrounding region is located to the northwest of Victoria. That little dot there is just slightly out. It's actually on the river. In southwestern Riverina, New South Wales. The region straddles the state border, which is of course the Murray River. Dependent largely on irrigation, but also including grazing and broadacre dryland farming. Industry is primarily agricultural, along with associated service industries. Swan Hill itself is a city of about 10,000. It's about 2 hours from any other major centre. While there's a TAFE college, there's no university. There are no visual arts courses, and so no infrastructure to help support an arts community other than the art gallery and a regional arts development officer, Kim Bennett, who is a core part of this acre project. While there's a dearth of professional artists, there is an abundance of amateur artists practising in a fairly traditional manner, as you might imagine. Like much of rural Australia, this region experiencing is still dealing with significant changes. Brought to a head by the drought. The fallout of this, the changing climate, has been nothing short of calamitous for many. Not for all, but for many. With drastically reduced water availability for irrigation, the downsizing of family farming operations, and then ultimately foreclosure by banks or the sale to neighbouring farms who see no future but to upsize to stay viable. A flow-on effect from this is that industries, agencies and service providers are downsized too, or indeed close their doors completely. For some, the stress associated with high costs, low commodity prices and the ongoing drought has led to health issues. The mostly untold and unspoken stories of mental health and tragically suicide by almost exclusively male members of the farming communities have had serious and wide-reaching effects on communities. There's nothing peculiar about this to Swan Hill or the region. Sadly, it's across much of the country. In 2012, the Murray-Darling Basin Authority aims to implement the Basin Plan that will return water to the environment. To achieve this, farmers and rural communities will, over a period of time, be facing diminishing water availability. As states, communities and interest groups across the basin struggle to make their respective voices heard during the current phase of this process, the ongoing inertia adds only to the frustration for many. All of this sounds particularly gloomy. The point of ACRE was and is that this time of change and upheaval has the potential to be seen as an opportunity, that the status quo does not have to be. That indeed this is the right time, and it has been the right time, to extend the creative thinking of farmers and communities and to reimagine the landscape. And it should be said that many are. So what is ACRE? ACRE began as an idea inspired by the Literal Foundation. I guess by chance, over the internet, I was fortunate to make contact with Ian Hunter through a number of emails. I explained my interest and my location. He said, "Why don't you have a seminar?" I love that. Just why don't you do that, you know? And I'll come and speak. So we did. ACRE began as a seminar at the Swan Hill Regional Art Gallery in 2009, at the height of a 10 to 13-year drought, depending on where you were living, but a seriously extended period of dry weather nonetheless. The most exciting thing about this seminar was not that we had Ian Hunter, Malcolm McKinnon or James Darling speaking, but that the audience was so genuinely interested, animated, inspired and motivated. There was a buzz generated from that first seminar that hasn't subsided. People still talk about that day. And why was that? I think it was because it was the right time. Many people I spoke to, farmers, said, you know, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do this, you do it now. It was indeed the right time. This was a first for such a thing in Swan Hill. To have artists, farmers, academics, councillors from neighbouring shires, arts industry workers, and just interested people in the one place talking about art and its place in the rural context. It was particularly exciting. Probably one of the most satisfying things I've been involved in during my time at the gallery. And while there's no immediate material outcome, there was a great sense of the momentum that needed to keep moving. So the seminar encouraged creative thinking involving the arts and also celebrated innovative communities and individuals. And here, just going back to the idea of creating an arts community, we have an example here at these seminars where very few in the audience were actually artists. There were very few artists there from that community. If we just look at Moolameen as a little bit of a snapshot of the region, a town in the region, a small town of 500. Like most other towns, had been feeling the effects of drought and generally depressed commodity prices and escalating costs. In 2005, a group of farmers, women, got together to paint as a group on a weekly basis. This was not just from a collective need to create in a group, but also because of the agricultural industry failing. There was time for these people to do this. The interest grew till they held their inaugural exhibition at the local hotel to great acclaim, with well over 100 people attending the opening. In the words of one of the key players of the group, this was our first realisation that we were onto something. We had tweaked something in the community and they had responded overwhelmingly. And so they had. It wasn't long until the vacant shop across and down the street was identified as a site for a gallery, a venue for workshops, a place to meet and potentially a place that could provide a source of income through the sales of coffee, cakes and other items that you might find in a gallery coffee shop, locally made cards, jewellery and locally produced condiments. With virtually zero water allocation for this irrigation community for many years, this concerted and serious venture into the arts meant this gallery became a beacon in the district for what was otherwise a particularly bleak landscape. While not being a panacea, the gallery and committee have been responsible for lifting the spirits of many, providing evidence and inspiration with a can-do attitude and providing a social and creative hub and for learning, passing on skills. I should say, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this town had achieved this independent of ACRE. You know, they were just doing this, which is terrific. In its very short life, the gallery has twice hosted the annual St Kilda Short Film Festival as it toured the regions, breaking attendance records for the tour one year. And we're talking about this little town compared with the city of Lismore with 40,000 people. You know, we had the biggest number in the city. It was amazing. The galleries organised cooking demonstrations, including cheese-making workshops, organised art and craft lessons for children after school, run various workshops including life drawing, painting, printmaking and mosaic making, established an annual photography competition. To quote Barb Harris, farmer, artist and gallery committee member, it has become a social and creative hub for Moolarmen, a meeting place, a place where people can feel like they are treating themselves to a little affordable time out without having to head to the bigger towns. They've recently been successful in obtaining funding to renovate the kitchen and to extend out the back to include space for a studio. Almost in parallel has been the establishment of the Moolarmen Men's Shed. Yes, this is the band Alzheimer's and Dementias. The growth of the Men's Shed phenomenon across the country has been recognised as a valuable social tool for cohesion amongst many retired men for various reasons, who have time in their hands or just want to get together in company in an activity that's non-competitive as opposed to sport, for example. The drought again was the catalyst for a group of men who got together one night and set to establish the Men's Shed. What's different about this one is the angle taken, not just the predictable turning of lathe work, of timber on lathes or furniture making, which they do as well, but it was the interest in music, the establishment of a rehearsal studio for musicians within the community, and two bands have been established because of that. Well, you know, one certainly because of it, but the other band has certainly taken the advantage of having that facility there. And they both practice regularly and perform. So what is ACRE aspiring to do? Essentially to have farmers and communities thinking differently about the current situation and their future. To grow and develop interests and activities involving the arts where little infrastructure or support exists. To immerse the community into the arts and the arts into the community. To cultivate the thinking that it's okay to be creative, really just to unleash the latent creativity that exists and have the community recognise that. What is it that ACRE does? This is about a kilometre out of the township of Moolarmen, China Gibson's mailbox. It's been well documented. There's little documentaries made by some French TV crew. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. It's fantastic. What is it that ACRE does? We've established a forum, a platform for discussion, for ongoing discourse around art in a rural context, providing the opportunity for people who are interested to come together, connect, learn, share ideas and experiences, and imagine the future. We've convened ACRE 1 and 2, both one-day seminars that had international speakers, as well as hosted the Bibliobox, an international archive of art projects involving villages, rural communities, and similar. The Bibliobox appeared at only 3 other venues in Australia in 2009. We've initiated 2 short film projects with filmmakers Malcolm McKinnon and Helen Newman about 2 small towns in the region noted for their resilience and innovation during the drought. These premiered just last November. We'd like to acknowledge and promote that there is a country/agricultural aesthetic. It may involve those of us not readily identified as artists, such as China Gibson. We'd like to promote art made here by artists here, not necessarily imported, not urban-based artists shipped in on short residencies with preconceived notions of space and place. Recognising though that yes, we need skills brought in as well, but all of that needs to be done with sensitivity. We need to acknowledge and promote the fact that the idea that this is not gallery-based, It's not studio-based, but it could be. That's not the right one anyway. With funding from the Australia Council, ACRE will begin an artist in residence project in May with Dunkeld-based artist Trevor Flynn. This will involve 4 farms, each quite different in operation and location, billeting Trevor for a week each over a 4-month period. In 2013, we'll convene a 2-day conference, ACRE 3. They will hopefully coincide with this very exhibition that is on at the moment at Fremantle Arts Centre, which we're very excited about, and coincide with other farming and arts events in the district. So to conclude, why does it work in the country? Can we been seeing here the same sorts of things happening in an urban scape as opposed to a landscape? Isabel Crombie, and I guess that's a question for another time, but Isabel Crombie writes in the catalogue essay for Stormy Weather, when we live in a place for long enough, its distinctive environmental qualities creep into our consciousness and create a sense of attachment. The smell of the air in summer, how a neighbour's tree grows, the colour of the hills at different times of the day. All of these natural elements can become a significant part of how we understand and connect to a place. Our awareness of particular surroundings can be an active relationship, or it may be so much part of our everyday life as to be unconscious. Certainly, this has to do with connection to place. It's only natural that people have strong attachment to where they live, a best place to comment, observe and reflect as people, as artists, as opposed to fly in, fly out. And I believe there's a lot of people with great attachment of place wanting to express their thoughts, their stories and their experiences. I'm convinced that people in this region have the potential for the establishment of ongoing and developing arts projects, not dissimilar to the IASCA projects and others we've heard of over this weekend. And this is critical, that we're not talking about one-off events that leave no legacy. It is the beginning and then the continuation of the conversation that is critical. That conversation has begun in our region. If there is to be an uptake of art, acknowledgement and support of creative thinking in the community, agencies such as the Australia Council, respective state regional arts councils need to get behind these projects with funding, as we have seen here. And we have also seen that organisations and collectives such as IASCA, M12, Literal, galleries such as the Fremantle Arts Centre are doing that very thing, getting behind this in a big way, and are to be commended. Thank you very much.